I've been trying in the past to stay away from doing videos like this. Only do one or two of them at a time, but this one's a pretty tough topic. I'm going to be doing some loose painting here. Okay, so I want you to keep this in mind just for a second. Don't forget it. I actually, hold on, let me delete that. I don't want that in here real quick. You go away. It's important. You would think it may be relative, but I don't really think it is. I think for it to hold its whole state, we'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Okay. But again, I want you to keep these two models in mind because that's essentially what that other one is up there, but I did something different with it. We could do stuff with the convection currents later. This kind of current is this bar. It's this whole thing, plus it's kind of the charge principles. It's just a high-low line with I hat and J hat. So technically it's not red to blue. It is. It's actually nothing to black, which is the simile of the combination of all colors or the absence of colors. Kind of an issue. Keep that in the back of your mind. That'll be an important thing later for what I'm going to be kicking around. But this is really neat. I knew that there was stuff about charges, and I know that there's a geometry to it, so I kept trying to work it out, and I kept coming back. I kept trying to do X to Y, right? That was my biggest problem. I'm in this first order, and I'm actually going back from the smallest element to a larger element. And from X, you go to Y, you go to Z. And so they're in switched positions. If you try to do it the other way, you'd probably have to use Y as the constant, and that may be something you want to try out. Z, Y, X, until you have all these quark symmetries that could possibly come off from that combination. But mathematically, it's sound as well. It's only got 3 characters, 1.5 characters, 2 half characters, one, however you want to orientate it. You could argue that those are solid charges. I don't know what happens out there in space. I just assume that the most complicated version of that there is, that's relative, because this is only complicated on the standpoint of how it's going to register hot and cold. There's a symbol of this structure that is much weaker, and then to this there would be a structure where I could load this up, so that or this is that loaded up, there will be a balance issue with it, I'm sure. And then considering what it does on this symmetry, that would happen as well. All that color shift short of these main lines would change color, or at least have that range I hat to J hat. But because the primary colors and T keep it pretty constant. This was supposed to be green because red, blue, and green shifted, and ultraviolet. That's your 4 color spectrums. You don't really actually have white and black. I know, it is a trip. But in that way, it's that there might be one where this is set up on this geometry as well, because of how asymmetry this is. It would shift this one off to this corner. It would shift this one off to one of these corners instead of this internal corner. That might change a charge or have a shifting aspect in the whole nature. Yeah, that way it's not just the larger square with Z. That's playing off this way. So like I said, back to that symmetry, this is a scale. But with that scale, there's other versions of it that would come off with more positive charge. Or it seems like the Brownian mechanics. It seems like it's nice and well balanced. Black, ultraviolet. Because here it was actually referenced of, if this is supposed to be green, then that should be red shifted, moving slower as a wave function. And this is blue shifted, registered as a faster moving wave function. Ultraviolet has obviously got this stretched out comparatively to black, and any red and green charge, any visible charges or any weaker charges, or the top 10% of whatever's in there kind of version in that 33 in the third math problem. As that breaks down, it's going to want to change fields. It can't change back to this black charge from here yet. it would want to jump over. And that's an important notation because z is the end of the function correlating to x. And in that way, I can have a negative positive. I can have a negative positive. I can have asymmetry short of z, 2, 4 inside of there. I got 4 y states, which is actually in the middle. Z, y, x, x, y, z. It's always in the middle is the operating system, so it wants to be on that line. But technically, negative x doesn't exist yet here, right? I don't really have an upper bound on any of this. It's not really giving me a limit. It's just kind of squishing it in some weird way. Well, anyways, I'm sure it has a lot to do with bonds and charges, and I'm not exactly sure how to fit the Braun model into this just yet. I mean, I might need to finish that out. I'm sure I could probably get that larger z to fit from like here and here, and really it would just drop it down a little bit, kick it over, and do a little bit. And even then, it would be different numbers. It wouldn't be that, because from here it would be, what is it? I'd start black, and then I would go blue. Yeah, there would be a little shift here. There would be a little red charge here, and then I would have to use purple, red, black, blue, purple. Purple starts it over right there, but that's on a much larger scale now, and you can see how those charges flip, and then relative to each other. Say something as an element in hydrogen or helium. Say that there's a nature to how many wraps it did or whatever, but not only do this, I would imagine, add together, break down, compel to make that larger state, but that state next to this other larger state, no, that's not quite it. They can equal that scale reference, and there's subtle differences between them, between terms in chaos theory here. So yeah, something to consider. I mean, I could probably grind it out. Me using pen is going to be a problem. I need 79's help with this, guys. You're going to have to call in somebody to see what they can do with that, and just to throw it back in there. I thought that was fun too. No, get out of here. No, don't look at it. We gotta avert your eye. This is cool. I like where this is going. It did some of the nature. I'm just not sure how I wanted to play with it. Again, lots of colors. I didn't want to chop it up and choke it out, and I wanted to just have a clip of it, because it is acting in that chargy way where quarks and spinners are gonna correlate what they're doing. Again, that's there, and there, considering what it would be. So maybe there's a nature of why it's orientated blue on top or blue on bottom or blue on side. I don't know. It's like I'm trying to throw it at the wall.